You won't stay there. Okay, maybe.
You're live, Bill.
Okay, welcome everyone to RiverCity-Media Beyond the Booth. Had some technical difficulties. Randy's kind of had to bow out. We've had some issues here. We've got special guests tonight, Danielle Patterson, Ashley Anderson. They have a unique story to tell in that Danielle Patterson is a liver recipient, or waiting on a liver actually, but Ashley Anderson is the person that's going to be her live liver donor. So we're going to welcome them to the show. And we understand from Ashley that they're tentatively got their operation scheduled for April the 1st. And I'm sure it's been a long wait. It's been an exciting time for both sides. Danielle, welcome in. We don't have video of you, but we've got you on audio. So welcome into the show. Welcome back. And, it's been a long road.
Yes, it has. Glad to be back again.
Yeah, definitely. So we're glad you joined us. Well, Ashley, first thing I want to ask, or of course, Danielle, I want to ask first, but I want to Ashley, welcome to the show. Of course, you are going to be Danielle's live donor. Welcome in. We're going to get some of your story, but welcome into the show. And this is an anxious time for you too.
Yeah, just a little. Yes. I'm very anxious because I know it's been a long road for Danielle, and I want that transplant to happen like yesterday. So, yes.
Well, Danielle, I know this has been a long wait for you. Basically, your life has been on hold ever since you were diagnosed with your liver disease. I think, was it in 2022? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with end-stage liver disease in August of 22. At that time, my parents were told that I wouldn't live for about 6 months without a liver transplant, but God had other plans, and He saw fit for me to continue life. It has been a struggle. My life, I've tried to not really put it on hold to some extent, to live as best as I could while I'm waiting. Just to make the best of each new day that I possibly couldn't have had if what the doctors had said were true at that time.
Well, Danielle, tell us, I know you have told this story with us before, but tell us what led to, because you have a unique story. Everybody has a story on why they have liver failure, but what caused your liver to fail?
Mine was from alcohol use. I was an alcoholic, and I was dealing with life issues in a way that I shouldn't have been, and I was trying to know myself having to deal with those things. And August 3rd of 2022 was the last time I ever had anything to drink, and at that point I was hospitalized. And that was the rock bottom that I hit. From then on, I was at a treatment facility for 6 months. And I've been sober ever since. And that was a Christian, faith-based recovery program. And that in itself has changed my life. Just their perspective on seeing a life recovery.
Well, and talking about that, being an alcoholic, and of course, a lot of people will hear about this, but being an alcoholic, I guess in a sense, you are so dependent on alcohol that a lot of other things in your life go astray.
Oh, yeah, definitely get put on the back burner.
Yeah, definitely. So, and when it comes along with that, also your family can suffer also.
Oh, yeah. And, that's part of me looking at life from a different viewpoint now is really grabbing hold of those relationships and trying to mend those relationships again. Those ties that I severed, and had lost the closeness with some of my family because of my own selfish ways. I've gotten to reconnect a lot, and that's really done a lot of my healing, for my heart. And I think it has for my family as well. Really, really putting things back in order the way that they should have always been.
And of course, I'm sure your family did a lot of praying in the process too, and I'm glad to have you back. And I guess now you are a true blessing to them.
Oh yeah. I hate to even imagine, what all I put my parents through. But I will say that if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here because, I know people say a lot about a praying mama, but I've got one. And, I'm proof of that. If it wasn't for my family and them and, their tough love sometimes and for their support, I couldn't make it without their support.
Yeah, definitely. So,
and that's the thing too, is, going through, being evaluated and all the testing and stuff. That's part of UAB's process, is checking out your family dynamics to see if you're going to have the support that you need during the process, before, during, and after transplant.
yeah, I know one of the key things they ask when you go in for an interview, and they really are, they want to hear from you and what your future holds. But that one of the first things they ask you is, what are you going to get out of this? What do you expect out of this? Of course, my answer was, I want to get back to a normal life. I want to be myself. And I guess that's the kind of answer. Well, that's what the doctor told me. That's the kind of answer he wanted to hear.
Yeah. I'm ready to look for a new life.
Yeah.
I'm ready to create a new normal and live the rest of my life.
Well, tell me this. I was going to ask you this later, but while you're on the subject right now, do you have a kind of a plan, a game plan of which direction you're going to go when all this process is over with?
Yeah, I've really thought about it a lot, and my ultimate goal is to return to school, to hopefully go into nursing. I have an associate's degree already, but I would like to go into nursing, because my career history has been in the medical field. But I would like to continue that and try to work in organ donation in some form or fashion, because, obviously it's really struck a chord with me, and it'll always be a part of my life. And so that's where I want to head. I want to make something of this whole journey, this whole process. I want, there to be something great to come out of it, to where I can then return help to other people.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I think kind of what you're saying is, God, we all have a purpose in life, and sometimes we kind of stand on the sidelines and are so what I would call fair weather fans. And the good Lord wants us to be involved. He wants to walk with him. He wants to show you the way. And I think when you go through something like this, it kind of shakes your tree a little bit and gets you a little more focused.
Absolutely. It does. Yeah, it really puts things into perspective. You realize just really how short life is. And you also realize the things that are actually important, rather than the little things that you've made such a big deal for so long. It changes the whole trajectory.
Well, tell me this, Danielle, because I'm going to go to Ashley here in just a couple of minutes, but what has been the toughest part so far?
I think the toughest part has been the waiting, not just, thank goodness I have had the level of help that I have. It hasn't been 100% by any means, but I've had some struggles. I've dealt with some hiccups along the way that have pulled me off of the waiting list, and then deactivated from the waiting list, and then I was reactivated, and just some issues like that had to be taken care of before I could even possibly undergo any type of surgery. But I've gotten through those. But it's the waiting. It's and since being told that it was going to be that I was going to be a candidate for the living donation, it's kind of further extended the waiting process. I feel like, because we were told once that it would be in December, and then we were told that it'd be at the beginning of the year, and then it's like each time we find out something, it gets pushed further another month or so, and I don't know, it kind of becomes disheartening at some point. But it's been the waiting.
Well, I think that's part of the trial process, in that you're going to be taxed to the limit naturally, but there's something special and something good going to come of this, because and like we know this as experienced, UAB hospital is totally professional. They're going to cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and they're going to make sure this process is going to be done right and done well the first time, because they don't want any mishaps, so to speak.
Right. And I know that everything worth it is worth the wait. It really is. And I shouldn't even be complaining about the waiting process if that's really been the worst part of it. It sounds so silly.
Well,
this
really
whole
not.
waiting period has really made me develop a lot of patience.
Oh yeah, definitely. But really, I think that's that's a big part of it. And I went through the same thing, because you think too much, you analyze too much. Something needs to take up your time, and that's like I had a car wreck and was out 3 months of work, and I was a basket case. I can't watch enough TV. I'm not a TV watcher. So then when I got put on the transplant list and they shut me down and I couldn't work anymore and I was disabled, I told Chris, I said, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. But thank goodness my mother was around. She had a pottery shop at the time, and put me to work there, just to kind of take up my time, keep me from thinking too much, and give me something to do. I was so thankful of that she was able to do that for me, because it was huge in keeping my mind off the inevitable.
Yeah, you've got to occupy your time with something, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not working either, so the days do become long and mundane, but it's given me a lot of time to, work on the reconnecting that I spoke of earlier with family, and, be able to go out of town to visit family.
Of course, and I guess it also gives the opportunity to set goals, and, and like you was talking about, what you want to do is a definite, and then when you get started on that, you'll really be focused.
Yeah, I've really had it in my scope. I've reached out to a few advisors actually at UAB in some of their departments that I've looked at going back to school for. So yeah, I'm really dead set on this.
Yeah. Yeah, and when it's all said and done, you're going to have a fantastic testimony and a great story to tell. And, that's always, when you start talking about these type of things, you get the attention of the whole room.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, then, maybe some people will decide that they would like to be organ donors as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, that's in the end, that's what we want. We want everybody to be organ donors, because, it gives somebody another chance. And even now with UAB being a live donor for livers now, that's a fantastic opportunity to save a lot more lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the surgeon that spoke at the transplant games mentioned that a live donor is able to, in fact, save 2 lives, because the person that they donate to is able to come off of the wait list, and then that reserves another liver for a different patient.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, Ashley, I want to just talk about you just a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background, what you do for a living, a little bit about your family, and we'll build up more later on. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I thank you for having me. I actually work in organ donation and transplantation. So I do work at Alabama's only organ procurement organization, which is Legacy of Hope. So anytime anybody's got that little red heart on their driver's license, that's us. So we connect those that are on the transplant list to those that have decided to give the ultimate gift of life. So we do all of our work is with deceased donors and their families. So it's just such a gift to be able to work with that type of atmosphere and that giving. And it's something that you see and you think about organ donation and you just think that it's death, but it's not. It's life. And I think that's the big thing that we all have to remember. But I've worked at Legacy of Hope about 8 years now, and I got kind of hooked up with them because we did have someone in our family. My mom passed away absolutely out of nowhere. She had a ruptured brain aneurysm and passed within 6 hours. So she was able to give her both corneas, and then also she was also able to be a liver donor. So it's kind of ironic that this has happened. I blame her for a lot of this,
Yeah.
but I know this is all very much a God thing. So I'm a donor family. I work in it, and I never thought I would be on another side of it, being a donor myself. So I've learned a lot about the whole other ball game. I thought I knew it all about it, but there's a whole nother area that I just didn't even know about. So
Well, that's a wonderful. That's wonderful. And now that you are going to be a organ donor, live organ donor, which is something we haven't seen where I'm at. There was, that when I went through 5 years ago, that wasn't. It was talked about, and they said they thought in the future it would happen, but it took 5 years since I had my transplant. But you are going to be linked, especially with a family, and I think if ever no a lot of people didn't get to experience this when we went to the transplant games in Birmingham. The donor families and the donor recipients become linked forever, and you two are going to be that same way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember she and I were talking about this at lunch the other day. We walk into this huge room and it's just amazing.
Uh-oh, we lose Ashley. I think we have lost Ashley. You back?
Hello? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. You just went blank. Okay.
We were talking about the other day. Oh, here. Oh, there, I can hear you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
We were just talking about what an unbelievable experience that was, that you walk into this huge auditorium and you see everybody on the big screen and donor families and everyone's crying, and it's such an emotional and but beautiful experience all at the same time. So it was amazing.
Yeah, and of course, and the next time we have transplant games, you're going to have a story to tell. And there
Yeah.
was a lady, I think it was from New York, and she was talking about we had just got there when she was one of the first people we had met, and she was talking about, she goes, "Look, you're going to find out here," because they had been to several games, that
Oh,
you're going to have a story to tell. She goes, "But when you think about your story and you start and you lay your story in the middle of the table and you hear everybody's stories around you, you're going to reach out and pick your rose back up and your story back up and pick it in your pocket, because there's so many stories to tell."
they're amazing. They're just amazing. Everybody's just so unique. I mean, just meeting Danielle, we were talking about, it was just a God thing. I mean, otherwise our paths wouldn't have crossed if it hadn't been for the transplant games. So
Yeah.
it was just meant to be.
What exactly, how did y'all run together?
Well, Danielle could help me with this because I didn't know her part of the story until pretty recently, but I was, of course, working in organ donation. I was part of the transplant games, but also being a donor family, my daughter was participating in the Lyrics for Life because she's a singer. So we were at the beginning meeting, and it just so happens that Danielle was sitting at a table next to us, and we started talking a little and kind of introduced ourselves, and it was, kind of one of those things that just sparked. She weighed on my heart heavy from the get-go. So I knew I was supposed to do this. I don't know, doing what I do for a living, I meet a lot of people. I see a lot of people that are on the wait list, but I was supposed to do this at this moment in this time. And she wasn't really, I don't even think, Danielle, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was kind of a fluke you were there, right? I mean, Stan kind of pushed you.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So Stan and I, we go to church together, and I had, I put on the wait list in October of 2023, and then of course was taken off for 4 months, and then was placed back on at the end of April of last year. But my dad, somebody in one of my dad's small groups, my dad had told them obviously what my story was. And so he was like, oh, well, we've got the perfect person to link you two up with. And so I was introduced to Stan just very casually. And that night, it was like I first met him, and within that same conversation, he was encouraging me to sign up for the transplant games. And I was like, whoa, this is a whole lot going on at once.
Yeah.
And so from then on, every Sunday at church, he would ask me, hey, have you registered yet? And so I finally did get registered, and I had to ask him, I was like, but I don't even know how to describe myself or what place I'm supposed to pick on my registration, because I'm not a recipient, I'm not a donor, I'm kind of, somewhere. And he said, oh, just click this and just type in waiting on wait list or something. Like, he knew the ins and outs of the whole entire process, and I'm so thankful for that. But yes, that one chance meeting that night at church, it was a Wednesday night, and our church doesn't do Wednesday night services. It was just this 1 week. It was a special course we've done. And from then on, it's like, here we are. I mean, everything was so ordained and orchestrated by someone someone greater than us.
Yeah. Those are the
Yeah,
words I was
definitely.
going to use. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I know exactly how you feel there. But Danielle, while you've got Stan, while you've brought his name up, talk a little bit about Stan. One thing I've learned about him, he's a wonderful man.
He is.
Yes, he is. He's one of a kind, all the good ways. He's obviously, I didn't know this until, getting to know other people in the transplant world. I mean, he's a pretty big deal. I call him Stan the man.
Yeah.
But he's been involved with the whole organ donation and transplant world for a very long time. It started with his wife when she had her heart and double lung transplant, and she wound up having a kidney transplant. And even once she passed away, he still is involved. He knows all the doctors there, some that have already retired, and he is a big part of UAB as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, and of course, Stan Smith, who we're talking about, he's the manager over over the Transplant Games of America. He's the big cog in the wheel there. But the thing is with him, when he tells stories about his wife, you would think she was here maybe just a couple of years ago, but she's been gone about 10 years. But it seems like, to hear him talk, she was here yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love hearing his stories about her. But yeah, every Sunday I see him at church. And he'll always ask how I'm doing, and then he'll ask if we know anything new yet. Just always kind of checking in on me, and I'm so grateful for him, because like I said, if it weren't for him, then we wouldn't be here today. But he, he's told me things about how he used to organize his wife's medications, and go ahead and order them to be refilled if they were coming up like they were getting low or something like that. He really was involved with her health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely so. Yeah, definitely so. And and he still reaches out to people today. He's genuinely, cares about others. You can tell that. So for one thing about going to the transplant games and getting into it, it's a great to get to meet Stan. The transplant games was wonderful, but but he's such a huge part of it, a motivating factor where you want to keep going back again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a big part of that, I think. Well, Ashley, I want to ask you this: how did you find out that you could possibly be an organ donor? I said all this time that it's been talked about,
I
but
know.
how did you find out that you could possibly be an organ donor for Danielle?
Well, working in organ donation, I know a lot of people. I know some of the surgeons. I know some of the people that are behind the scenes. And I actually, I've worked with someone that's been a living kidney donor. I've worked with somebody whose husband just received a liver. And so it's very interesting. People don't understand what a small world it is, but there's somebody you probably know. You may not know it or realize it, but there's probably somebody that has received or knows somebody that has received an organ in some way, shape, or form. And so once we have that discussion, and I realized that it was something that they had begun. Uh, and it was just kind of snowballed from there. We learned that it was an option, and we're like, when is this starting? And Danielle and I started doing some digging on both of our ends, and we realized this was a lot more tangible than what we had anticipated. And then I was just sent to do my labs, and from then on it's been kind of a hurry up and wait situation. But it was asking, it was learning, and it was asking some more, and then just saying, hey, let's get these labs done and see if this is going to work. And it come to find out, it was perfect match. So
What are some of the barriers you have to cross, like blood type, or
yeah.
what are those type of things? That's the things I don't really understand is how do they are able to match you with her?
It's really so interesting, and I'm not a clinical person, but knowing probably enough to get me in trouble. It's kind of interesting. Of course, we at the out of the gate, we wanted to make sure that our blood types were the same. So we're both O positive. So we were like, okay, we got to check that box. But I went through a ton of labs and to make sure I didn't have anything first that was healthy enough to do it. And once they realized that, then they move forward with, okay, well, we have to make sure her liver's functioning properly. We have to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be, and that everything is connected to everything. So when they take part of this liver, is it going to be able to be you know given to Danielle in a manner in which it's going to fit, and everything's going to her body is going to accept it properly. And so I went through MRIs and CTs and you name it. They know me from tip to toe at this point. So, and kind of find out that they liked what they saw, is what is my understanding. So once we got that, we want to, they kind of want us to be, similar in size. I wouldn't, be able to obviously give to a child, and, a 7 foot tall man isn't going to be able to accept my liver either. So they kind of wanted to make sure, we were compatible, and that was definitely been the case. So although it seems like just yesterday I did the labs, but at this point it's been a couple months. So it's really interesting to see all the things that goes into it that you just don't realize. I mean, when you're on the other side of donation, you just don't know.
No, no, definitely, you're right. Well, tell me this. I mean, y'all are both. Did you say O positive?
Hmm.
Okay. Is there compatible blood types that are interchangeable, where you want and both have to be the same blood type?
Yes, there are. I think for O positive, you can give to a lot of different people when you're O positive. They oftentimes will call us unicorns, because I know I have Red Cross calling me all the time wanting to give, but I'm like, I'm saving up now. I have a transplant to think of. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, there are other ones that can match. I off the top of my head, I can't tell you what those are, but yeah, though that is a possibility. It just so happened that, ironically enough, we were O positive, both of us. So it was kind of a nice little icing on the cake, so to speak.
Well, tell me this: how much of your liver are they going to take to put into her?
That is a great question. So my understanding is our transplant surgeon will explain things very, very well, and she did a great job at that. Um, from my understanding, they take a portion of my right lobe, and they'll only take as much as needed for her, which they're going to be very conservative on that, but enough that her body will accept it. And with immunosuppressants, we'll have a thumbs up, and all will be well. So they will, and of course your liver regenerates. So it's very interesting because you're doing something for someone else, but in the long haul you're getting it all back anyway. So for me, this is kind of a no-brainer, which that's probably, maybe some people might think that's naive, but I think that's kind of, you know, understand all of everything and educate yourself on it. And you'll see it's really, an amazing opportunity to help somebody. And like you said, Danielle, you help two people in the process.
Yeah, definitely so. Well,
Mhm.
have they told you how long your process will be in recovery? It's not going to be as long as Danielle's is going to be, but how long is your
Mm-mm.
process going to be before you kind of get
No.
back to normal?
I am only in the hospital, I believe, for 5 days, and they said I will likely be off work around 3 to 4 weeks. And I know me, working in donation, it's one of those things where it's, like you and I were talking about earlier, it's hard to sit still for too long. So I don't know how long I'm going to be able to sit still, but I will do exactly what they tell me to do. But it should be around 3 to 4 weeks or so. It shouldn't be long at all.
Well, I want to ask you this. I don't know if this is a question anybody's ever thought of, but could you do it again in time?
It's really interesting because Danielle and I we had talked about this a little bit. Um, I don't know the answer to that
Uh-huh.
because I think if you think about it, it's possible, but I don't know that they would want that. It depends on your health and how everything looks, but it's kind of interesting to think it's a possibility. Or could you possibly do living kidney donor, if you were, healthy enough to do that? So I don't know the answer to that. I think it's probably possible, but I don't know how probable it would be in the future.
Well, you'd mentioned surgeon. Do y'all know who your surgeon's going to be?
I believe Dr. Shake is going to be our surgeon. Same with you, right, Danielle?
Dr. Shake will be Ashley's surgeon,
Hmm.
and I have not yet met who the surgeon will be for me.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
Dr. Shake told me when I met with her once before, was that she would be the donor's surgeon.
Oh, so there's going to be two totally different people. Because I mean, it's a long process of putting the liver in. I forgot how many. My wife could tell me, but how long it took for them to put the liver inside me. So I'm sure I can understand having to be two surgeons. Well, Danielle, I want to ask you this: when you found out that Ashley was a match donor wise and that y'all could move forward, what were your thoughts?
Well, when she first reached out to me, it was in that very first message she had said that she was O positive. And I was like, hey, that's exactly what my father. From that point, I discussed it with my family and included them on all the details. I wanted to run it, by them first before I even responded back, because my instinct was to say, well, yeah, of course, tell me when and where to go to sign up.
Yeah.
I had to get a little bit of sense about me and include others in the discussion. And then once she proceeded to go further with all of her testing, well, I had to contact UAB, and the coordinator contacted me and said that she would get Ashley set up with labs, and that Ashley would then have to contact her. All that, once all the testing was complete, we kept getting kind of like little heads up after each process of the testing. Be like, well, everything looks good, but we've got to have the final say so. So it's like we kind of
That was so long.
Things were, still looking good. It just wasn't official. So it was like, once everything was done, it's like, okay, give us a date, tell us when and where to be.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, I understand that. That's for sure. Well, now, Daniel, of course, I've been through this, but I want to ask you about this. Is what is your process to recovery? How long is it going to take you once you have your liver transplant? I'm sure they've told you how long you'll be in the hospital and all those types of things, but how long do you think your process to recovery is going to be?
I have no idea.
You don't tell you much.
No. They may have told me at the very beginning, because I started this process in July of 2023.
Yeah.
So they may have told me back then, kind of like a roundabout time, but I really don't know. And I think it's different for everyone. I think it's according to how well you are before you go into the surgery. I think it's how soon you get up and get moving afterwards. I think it's just dependent on each individual person, but at least several weeks.
Yeah. I think a process too is if your wife is a nurse and she pushes you to the limits, it ain't going to take you very long to get well, because she's not going to let you lay around very much.
No, I bet not.
So, but well, Danielle, well, see, the reason I was asking about this, I just wonder, you having a live donor, your liver is going to grow from, and rejuvenate once it's inside you. And I just wonder how long that's going to take for it to kind of sort of get to its normal size. Will they keep you down longer? I just wonder if there's anything like that they have told you.
Yeah, now as far as that part of the process goes, they have told me that it takes about 2 months on average for that part of the liver to regenerate up to a fully functioning liver. It'll never be the same size as a whole liver, obviously, but it will function as one. And that time period is about 2 months. And that reason in and of itself is the most important part of you actually qualifying as a candidate for a living liver donation. Is that, if you're too sick, the doctor did tell me that, there are a lot of people who are on the wait list right now that would pass away within those 2 months because their body is not well enough to maintain and to compensate for those 2 months that is kind of going without any kind of functioning liver at all.
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting, because I thought that might be something that you might have an answer to, because, it's going to take a while for that to rejuvenate itself. Because, like with me, I get a healthy donor, goes right in, and immediately I see the results. The muscle tone starts back, hair starts growing on my arm, just almost immediately. So, that's probably going to be a little slower go for you. But it's going to be nice to see and you're going to see it. Your body's going to get better. You're going to get stronger. Your mind's going to be a lot clearer. It's going to be amazing what a difference it's going to be when you get a healthy liver.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm excited because, I've created a new normal for me as far as, on days when I'm like, oh yeah, I feel really good today. And I just think to myself quite often is, when I actually get a healthy liver within me,
Mm.
I'm probably going to feel even way better than I could imagine. Like even way better than what my good days are now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. So, and you'll see it pretty quick, but of course, over a year's time, you get a little bit. And even today, I look back and go, I didn't realize how sick I was. And and that my mind's a lot clearer. I'm a lot more focused on things. My goals. I don't get distracted very often. I know I went through a tough time when my liver got bad. My bilirubin was like 12. My ammonia level was through the roof. I think I weighed
Oh, wow.
168 pounds. So I was very unhappy at that time.
And that's not uncommon for recipients to say, I didn't know I was as sick as I was, because
Mhm.
you guys are so used to feeling bad. You're just
Mhm.
used to not feeling well, and you push through and you just
Mhm.
keep on moving and you just march on regardless. And so I got to give hats off to everybody that has the patience and the faith and the strength to keep on moving, because I know it is a long journey.
Yeah, definitely. So I was to the point to where if I drank milk, it would make me just sick as a dog. I couldn't. My
Wow.
body was so bad. It got to the point to where one of two of the mildest dairy products you could eat is cottage cheese and sour cream, and I couldn't even have that. I mean,
Oh,
it would just
wow.
sour on my stomach, and so it was tough. And
Oh,
my wife watched me decline big time. I mean, my ammonia level went through the roof. They had to take me to the hospital one night. I was used a lot of foul
yeah.
words and yanked my IV out at the hospital and was leaving. I mean, I did a lot of
Whoops.
mean things. It was not nice.
It,
But Danielle, I guess you are really looking forward to this. I mean, it's hurry up and wait, but I know that the
mhm.
time's getting near, and as it gets closer, I guess you're going to get more and more anxious.
Not really.
Yeah.
I really have not. I say that the hardest part's been the waiting, but with that being said, I've not really been anxious at all during this whole process. I'm not nervous.
Me
I know I
neither.
probably
Yeah.
should be to some extent, but I have not been nervous or scared or anxious or upset or anything like that. I'm at such a peace with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, let's just go, But
Yep.
you talking about as sick as you were, I had, when I hit my bottom and I was in the hospital and all that, I was pretty well in the same shoes that you were in at that time. And it's taken a lot of, toying with different medicine dosages and things like that to get me to a maintenance level that keeps me going, day in and day out at this point.
Hey,
So even now I'm doing a lot better than I was at my sickest, but even then they probably couldn't have transplanted me at that point because I was too sick and I wouldn't have made it through a surgery.
I guess
So,
maybe kind of what gives you that peace is that every day is a blessing now, because you're left here for some reason. So I think it keeps you at peace because each day is a blessing. You don't take anything for granted, and you live life for today.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Each new day is a day that I wasn't promised at one time.
Yeah, and that's the way we all should live through life. It's a shame that sometimes we have to have tragedy to hit us to kind of get us to that thinking. But I think God does that to us sometimes to shake our tree a little bit, because sometimes we need to remind him who the real boss is.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's the truth.
Well, and another thing of peace, I think, and I want to let you give a shout out to, the folks at UAB. I mean, I experienced that process there. I know when we started going down there, we put a lot of trust in the UAB hospital, and there was options for me to go to Emory, could have went to Vanderbilt. There was other places to go. And she says, what do you want to do? And I said, well, they have everything that they have said and done has come true to form. So I think I have my trust in them. I said, so I think I want to stay there. And it worked out well. But, give a shout out to the UAB hospital, because that hospital has done wonders for many people.
Oh yeah, I am so thankful that I live as close to UAB as I do, because so many people do not have the opportunity where we can just drive right down the road, if need be. But UAB is where they're making headway in everything, or every area, it seems like. I've had good experiences from the word go there. Every time I'm there, from people who draw my labs to the people who are doing x-rays, from the people that are standing out there by the parking garage. Everybody that I've ever come into contact with at UAB, from bottom to the top, I have had a great experience with, and I would recommend them to anybody.
Yeah, definitely. So, and there's a lot of people around that I know that's had dealings with UAB hospital at one time or another. And, everybody has wonderful things to say. Basically, UAB hospital is a household name.
It is. Yep.
Yeah. And I guess you feel the same way, Ashley, because,
yeah.
they have done wonders. A legacy of hope. It's an amazing story there. And you see people's stories, when they rebound and get back to a normal life. I'm one of those that have gone far beyond what I ever thought I'd be able to do. I just wanted to get back to a normal life, but I think I have gone past that.
And that's what it was meant to be. That's what it was meant to be, for sure. But you're right. UAB is wonderful. You have to have a transplant there. I hate to hear that so many people have to come from so far, but you're getting the best when you go there. Just know that for sure.
Yeah, definitely so. But Danielle, I want to ask you about this. We talked a little bit about Ashley about the transplant games. What was your experience to the transplant games, and what are some of the things you took away from that?
People's stories, kind of the same thing. I could have talked to every person there and never heard the same story twice. And the transplant world is a totally different group of people for so many different reasons. People are either given another chance at life, or are on the other side of it and have lost someone, but have then seen their legacy then carried on through someone else. Everybody has a different outlook on life in the transplant community. This is a community that I wish everybody in society would get an experience with at some point in time in their lives, just to see what the importance of some things are to other people. When you've been given a second chance at life, you find a new reason for living. It's such a beautiful community.
Yeah, and I think what makes it so special, and that's like when I played basketball, I was on a team with 4 teammates, and you go in there with a thing in common, is that you're transplant recipients, but you leave with a common bond. It's like you become family.
Yeah. There's people that I'm still friends with, whether it be on Facebook or however, that may live out of state now, that I've met through there. It's kind of like a water drop in a pond that just ripples out. And you meet other people through them, and it's lifelong connections.
Yeah, definitely so. And those relationships never go away. And when this is over with, are you planning to make the trip to Denver in 2026?
I hope to.
Yeah.
God willing, I'll be there, and Ashley and I will both be on different categories in the next transplant games.
Yeah,
But we'll bring home gold.
Yeah. That's
Whatever
good. I got a silver medal in basketball, so that was great. You like to kill
That's
me.
wonderful.
Yeah, but or a gold, actually bronze medal in basketball. Like to kill me, but I got through it somehow. I wasn't expecting to play basketball, and that's what it ended up being that way. But yes, and I think Danielle, you experienced it. When the teams march into the Olympic Games and the opening ceremony, it's just a special moment. And this time, so to speak, I don't know how it will be in Denver. You'll get to be on the floor.
Yeah, I was on the floor at the last one.
Was you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so neat. I can't grab onto any words that are large enough to describe it because it was such a feeling.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I think the big thing too was for me was I was okay when we came in, and all the cheering and whatnot, but it was when the donor families came in with their signs, I kind of lost it.
Oh yeah, and then when they have their pictures on
Uh-huh.
and you get to put a face with a name to the family.
Yeah, because and I think and all those donor families too, they come and they'll watch the events and they hang out and they do the certain things. But I guess they kind of sort of will take into, some kind of closure there where they kind of sort of watch the athletes and kind of live life through their eyes for a few minutes. So I think that makes that special for the donor families too.
I think that's true. Yeah. My daughter participated as a donor family. So she did get to bring home silver, but it was nice that we were able to see and meet so many recipients while we were there, though. It was amazing.
Yeah. And what was surprising to me is how organized the games were. Everything just kind of fell into place. I was thinking when we first got there, was this going to be done right? Is it professional? But they put so much time and effort into everything. I mean, other than maybe a couple of sports that you might have wanted to participate in were on the same day, and that didn't work out. But other than that, everything just kind of fell into place. And you just, I can't play this, so I'm going to play that. So, and the biggest thing is, it's not matter. I mean, you want a medal, but it's not about winning and losing. It's about participating.
That's right. That's right. That's really, and watching and meeting the people was the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Danielle, I guess, want to give a shout out to folks about organ donating, how organ donation, about how important it is. And of course, Ashley's talked about the legacy of hope, about how important that is. And folks needs to get involved in these types of things, not only with organ donation, but even donations and things like that helps people, when they recover from their transplants and whatnot, because, people get in financial hardships.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's as far as my insurance goes. I've been very blessed with good insurance, but there are some people who are less fortunate, who may not can afford the medicines, who may not can afford travel back and forth to appointments leading up to transplant. I think UAB may have some type of I don't know if it's like a charity program or something similar that can help out patients financially, or with some kind of financial assistance as far as that goes.
Yeah, they do. They do. They also help them find resources if they don't have that.
Yeah, because I was definitely blessed that I had insurance, and once I met my max, then nothing came out of pocket. And boy, that was a nice thing. Of course, we had great help from friends and family, helped us financially. That when I went back to work, we wasn't destitute. It made it a lot easier when I went back to work, that I didn't have to be, stressed out about trying to make ends meet. So, and that's part of the recovery too, because a big thing about having issues physically, like a liver being bad, Danielle, your mental health suffers too.
It does. You can really let it overtake you. As far as thinking the worst, or it's having a lot of that spare time on your hands and getting in your head. I like to read a lot, and I read a lot, because I find myself that I'm able to escape through the books. it kind of refocuses my mind. If my mind's getting a little too heavy sometimes, I'll do that just to kind of divert my attention. But yeah, sometimes, if it gets a little too much, I'll have to take quiet time or, something to change my focus.
Yeah, definitely so, because your mental health actually hurt your physical health too. That's a big process. Well, Danielle, if somebody's out there, say they're on a waiting list, what are some of the things that you can kind of sort of reach out and tell them to keep that hope alive? Because there's always a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow.
As far as getting through, my biggest thing has been my support group. UAB offers a support group that meets every Monday at 1, and it's actually a counselor who leads that group, and that's for people who are pre or post liver transplant. That has really been a key role into my mental health. I look forward to those meetings, whether it's a good day or a bad day. It's just kind of, it's over Zoom, but it's just kind of like getting with a small group and talking about your feelings, if you want, what's weighing on your mind, or if you've got some upcoming tests that you're dreading or you're anxious about, or just whatever is happening in life, because it's people that are kind of in your same boat. But definitely kind of support group that you can join in of like-minded people, or people who may be within the same circumstances that you're currently in.
Yeah, of course, family is such a huge part in the recovery, and and your support group, because your support group around you really makes a difference, because I think that gives you kind of that zest for life.
It does, and I think I depend on my support group too, just to give my family a break.
Yeah,
They support me so much. I think it's, I don't want to always be feeling like I'm, just exhausting their ears if I feel like I need to talk about something or get something off of my chest. I need to give their minds a break too.
yeah. Of course, I mean, they're going to be a big recovery process. You'll have to lean on them a lot, but I am sure they are looking forward to seeing the healthy Danielle Patterson that's full of life and getting back to her goals in life. And that's what'll make parents proud.
I've got a lot of people that are rooting for me. Everybody's just kind of like sitting and waiting. I've got people in my family. It's like any kind of update I get, I send out like a group text message, like, okay, this is the next update. And it's like they're kind of waiting just like I am. So, but yeah, we're ready to go on the other side of it too, so we can start working on recovery and looking at what's going to happen next in life.
Well, Ashley, getting back to you, of course, we've talked about you being a donor. If a person, say they wanted to be checked to see if they could be an organ donor, a liver donor, any type of donor, what would be a great way for them to reach out?
Oh, the best way is to go to the UAB Living Donor website. They have a page that is strictly for living donors, and that's the best way to get involved and to see if you're a match, because you could be a match to someone and you can stay completely anonymous. You don't have to know the person. You don't even ever have to meet that person if you don't feel comfortable that you want to do that. But if you just Google UAB and living donation, they have a complete screening process, and then someone will call you and set up all of the labs and tests that you need to have done.
Yeah, and and I think that's like, I've never met my donor family. I know the young man, I think they told me that he was 33 and I got his liver. And a part of him stays with you. And I think, Danielle, you can attest to this, because it's going to be the same with you with Ashley. They become a part of you. So you, as you continue your life on, you continue their legacy also. So that young man that donated his liver to me, I continue on his legacy. So I feel like, and it comes to mind every once in a while, that I owe him to be the best person I can possibly be. Now, I think sometimes he reminds me he's with me because just about every time I eat, I'm going to sneeze 2 times. I think that's the way he reaches out and lets me know he's there.
Oh
Because
my God.
it's a constant thing for me. And somebody told me that when you get a liver like that, maybe your antihistamine levels change, and that may be the cause of that. But it kind of reminds me he's still there. So really, being an organ donor, you leave your legacy for somebody else.
God, that's so true.
Yeah.
That's a great way to think about it. And you know, the funny thing is I didn't get to meet or know the person that received my mom's liver, but I know it was a female in her 50s, and I think about her often. And she did send our family a note. I guess the very first year my mom had passed, and that card I keep with me because I just want to be reminded. I mean, she was able to see her first grandchild born because of that donation that my mom had. So it just means so much because I know how close my mom was to my daughter. And so it just means a lot that grandma can see her grandbabies be born. So it speaks volumes.
Yeah, well, definitely. Danielle, you're in that too. You're going to have a piece of Ashley in you. So I think you owe it to her legacy to be the best person you can possibly be, and I think you're on the right track to be that.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I don't do it for myself. I do it for her. We were laughing before because I'd heard that, and there's kind of 50-50 people on both sides of if it's really true or not, that you develop your donor's cravings. And so she and I were preparing to go to lunch the other day, and I said, well, I'm just curious what you like to eat because this is what I've heard. And then, of course, my family, they're like, well, maybe she craves seafood because I've never eaten seafood.
I love seafood.
Maybe if you get part of her liver, you'll start eating seafood if she likes it.
Love it.
But, yeah, we'll be connected forever. And, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that I have no choice but to be the best version of myself.
So probably what we're going to say, if we meet you in Denver in a couple of years and we're having dinner, you're probably going to have a plate load of oysters.
I don't know. It's according to what Ashley likes.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, I don't want to keep y'all very much longer, but Danielle, is there anything that you want to touch on or share, a story, anything, a shout out to anybody that you want to share before you get off here? Because I hope I've touched everything, but I don't know that I have.
I think you've pretty much covered it. Just if organ donation has ever crossed anyone's mind, just don't think too hard about it. Just go do it. Just go sign up to be an organ donor. And then, if you feel led to, then be a living organ donor. You're not going to do anything less than help somebody.
Yeah, definitely so. And Ashley, on the other hand, is there anything you want to reach out about? Of course, you can tell people firsthand how the best ways to be an organ donor. You don't just have to have it on your license. There's other ways of doing it.
No, not at all. You can, of course, having that red heart on your license is great, but it's not necessary. If you go to legacyofhope.org, if you go to the website on the top right-hand corner, there's a place that you can click to register to be a donor. And it takes all of about 30 seconds, if that, and you will get put onto the registry. And that's, and make sure though, when you do that, you share it with your family so they know what your decision is, because you just don't want to be put in that position where they didn't know you registered. So I know it's not an easy conversation, but in a way you're helping so many people by doing that. One donor can save up to 8 lives through donations. So that's amazing. So just go to the website. If you have questions, trust me, my info is on there too. I'm happy to answer questions if you all have questions about being a donor. I know it seems like a confusing process, but it's not. It's just the last thing you can do, the ultimate gift you can give. It's just an amazing gift to someone or
Of
somebody's.
course, yeah, and I've seen this. Often it's a misconception, but people have it in their head, some, that if something happens to you and you get to the hospital and things are not going well, that they're going to turn. If you're an organ donor and they see your license, they're just going to turn the machine off and harvest your organs. That's not the way this process works. The hospital is going to do everything they can, and that's the last thing they're worried about.
That's so true. I know a lot of people think that too when they're in a car accident. That's why they don't want the red heart on their driver's license, because they say, "Oh, that's the first thing they're going to do is grab my driver's license and see I'm a donor, and they're not going to work as hard to save me." And that's just not the case. That is not the case. But again, you don't have to have it on your driver's license. You can register online easily, and it takes 30 seconds, and you could save so many people's lives because of it.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful thing, and that of course Danielle's going to be a recipient of your liver. It has to be a
Yeah.
wonderful feeling for you, especially when that day comes. And Danielle, I'm sure the day this happens, it's going to be an emotional day for you. I know you're looking forward to it, but emotions is going to catch up with you come time.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's going to be the first day of the rest of my life.
Yeah, definitely. So, and of course, when all this is over with and you get better, we want to get you back on here because I want to hear your story, and I know you're gonna be able to tell us how much better you feel, how much your mind's going to be clear, and how much more at peace you're going to be, because it's going to be a change of life for you. I promise you.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to tell the other part.
Yeah, definitely. So,
To
well,
be
y'all have,
continued.
yeah, to be continued. That's what we want to see. I mean, in the show we do is Beyond the Booth. A lot of things we do are kind of tied into sports, but the one thing we had the transplant game, so that kind of ties us into sports a little bit.
That's
But that's a
right.
lot of things we do. But our humanitarian stories are great. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to reach out to people like you and let you share your story, because there's somebody out there going to be touched. There's somebody out there that may become a organ donor. With you, Danielle, there's going to be a person that's maybe waiting on a donor that's going to be a little more at peace by hearing your story. And that's the kind of things we want to see.
I hope that it can help somebody. I live my life each day hoping that if I can tell my story and change someone's mind for the better, and to help somebody just by telling my story, I'll tell it all day, every day. Because that's why I have a story. I don't have a story for myself. I have a story to tell others about the goodness of God.
Yeah. And then, of course, when this is all over with, you're going to run into people like Stan, and you don't have to give him an update anymore. You just get to hug his neck and tell him thank you.
Yeah.
That'll be a wonderful thing. Well, I want to thank y'all both for coming on. It's wonderful to meet you, Ashley, for the first time. I hope and pray everything goes well. I'm sure it will. It will go well. And I'm looking forward to hearing y'all's stories afterwards and kind of sort of, give us an update on how the process works. I've been on the side where you get, where you don't have a living donor, but I want to hear it from the other side. And one special, unique thing for you two, y'all are going to be probably the first organ live donor, organ transplant at UAB Hospital. That's a special thing, not just for UAB Hospital, but for y'all too, in being the first.
Yes. And we're very excited about that. It's been a lot of years coming.
And Danielle, I guess that's for you too. It's going to be special being that first one. It's not the only thing, but it'd be kind of neat to be able to share that story.
Yeah, we may not be the first, but we will be one of the first.
Yeah.
We'll be close.
Being made, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Me too.
Well, I know UAB is a special place, and then two people I really want to thank when I get to see Dr. McGuire every once in a while, and then Dr. Locke. She's the one that did my surgery. Two special people to me because, these doctors, I know they get paid well, but they do so much because being in the organization they're in, it has to be special to see people get well because their efforts don't go unnoticed.
Mm-mm. Not at all. Not at all.
Well, Danielle, I want to thank you again for coming on. God be with you. I hope all goes well come transplant time. Maybe we'll hear from you from time to time between now and then. Of course, I keep up with you a little bit on Facebook, so we'll kind of sort of be able to know what's going on, and we'll look forward to having you on again.
Okay, absolutely. I'll be waiting.
And once again, Ashley, thank you for coming on. I hope
Thank you.
a wonderful evening. I hope it goes well, and we will see y'all on the flip side.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much for having us.
Hey, I enjoyed it, and we look forward to doing this again. Godspeed, and y'all have a wonderful evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's going to do it from here at River City Media as Danielle and Ashley on with us for a little bit of their story of their liver transplant live donor going into our donor recipient. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back later on, probably next week some point. I don't know where our guest is going to be, but we want to again thank Danielle and Ashley for coming on. Of course, we want to give a shout out to the Legacy of Hope, UAB Hospital, also the Transplant Games of America, who are three entities that are very special to us in that we've had experience along the way. But we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We'll look forward to being on again next week. A good night, everyone, and God bless.